Gohar and I are going to walk through how to export this Botmock restaurant bot to a Facebook Messenger bot. So we've got it all designed on the canvas. And Gohar, what is our very first step now that the flow is all set to be exported?
For sure. So there are two things that I wanted to bring in first that as you would see that we are also using jump blocks in this particular flow. We have another flow that is going on. So this is one thing that I wanted to basically shed some light on was that we are also using a jump block here, which is going to a help project, and that is for the purposes of if the user digresses the conversation to, and asks for help, then we are going to this flow and then provide all the help to the user and then come back to this flow. So this is what we are going to be exporting into Dialogflow. The first step that you basically need to do is...
So hold on, go ahead. You're saying that if I have a jump block in my flow, I'm going to have to take a couple other things into account when I'm exporting?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And you're going to show us what those things are right now.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So, if you go to github/botmock Dialogflow export, this is our open source project, so it's publicly available to all of our users. And what this project does is this is the project that exports all the Botmock content into what Dialogflow basically likes and converts all the do all the transformations and convert them into intents.json files and basically get us ready to import a zip file into Dialogflow. And as I mentioned earlier, that there is a jump block here, so we need to do something special just to incorporate that. So in our documentation, we have also...
So why are we using Dialogflow even if we're actually exporting to Facebook? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So if you want to export your project or deploy your project into Facebook, there are multiple ways of doing it. One is you can use ManyChat to basically create Facebook bots and then do that. In Botmock, we are build platform agnostic. So from our perspective, we don't really care about what the build platform is, and we have created all these exporters that go to different flows. So you can basically export this whole project into Rasa, into Bot Framework, into all these mainstream IBM Watson, into all these mainstream build platforms, but all these build platforms, they don't really support Facebook, whereas Dialogflow does. And since they're also adding new integrations into there, so it might, when you see this, let's say in the later time, maybe some of these platforms do have a support of that. But Dialogflow does give us one of a very seamless integration with Facebook. So that is one of the reasons that we chose to deploy our Facebook pod via Dialogflow.
Okay, so you're saying Botmock is not a build platform and Facebook is not a build platform. So we need to find a build platform to sort of be the middleman in order to deploy it to Facebook. And we're going to use Dialogflow for that.
That's absolutely correct. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. All right. So what I was showing you guys was our exporter. And since I mentioned earlier that we are using jump blocks, so there is one special thing that you want to do in your exporter, which is we have also listed in the README file of this particular repo. That is include jump blocks. So what include jump blocks essentially does is if you have jump blocks into your project, designer does not have to worry about how they have to organize something so that dev can basically use it. They have full liberty of using all these bits and pieces of Botmock. But what we do at the export level when developers use it, we basically stitch all the content into all these jump blocks that are also part of the project, and then bring it to our build project, which we give it to the developers so they can basically get all the content and then export it and don't have to worry about like, these Botmock specific blocks like jump blocks or API blocks. We have all the transformation done automatically for them. So this is the only thing that you need to basically include, which will tell our exporter that, okay, include all the content of this particular jump block as well, and make it a project that has everything included in it. Second thing that you want to do now is once you are in this page, you need to clone this repo by just putting this command. And what this command will do is it's going to create a project in your local machine. And this would be like the name of the folder. You go into this folder by just typing in this command, cd botmock Dialogflow export. And then you need to run this command to install all the packages that we are using in the background to do all the magic for you. Once we have installed all the packages, we have this sample.env file. You need to rename it to .env file. And what this .env file is, let me show you in our code itself, that it's going to have a token, it's going to have a team ID, project ID, board ID. Now, how do you get all this information? The information that you can get is through our canvas itself. So if you see this settings icon here, you press this, it will open the settings modal. So go to API info. You can copy them individually, or you can just copy this and it will copy all these three things for you. And then you can just simply paste it here. One thing that will be missing from this paste would be the Botmock token. So our API and our export needs an access token to tell our API that yes, we are authenticated. This request is not a malicious request, it's an authenticated request. So that token is required in order to make any request to our system. And how you can basically generate that is in the same settings page, you see there's a generate API key here. You click this, it's going to take you to this page where you can create a token. You need to name a token. For in this case, it can be any name. I have already created one, so I'm not going to create one. But when you create one, you give it a name, you assign all the abilities to it, and then you create one. It's going to show you a modal where you have the access token, which you can copy and paste it into your .env file. All right, so once you have all of this set up, then the last thing that you need to do is you need to include this jump blocks option into your exporter. And this is only applicable if you have jump blocks into your project. If you don't have any, you can simply ignore it. But if you have one, so in our case, we do have one. So what we have done is we have already included it, and let me show you that in action here. So this is the main index file that we basically run, and you would see like, we are taking the Botmock team ID, project ID, access token here, board ID here. We need to have a URL. So in this case, it's going to be app.botmock.com. We also have include a jump blocks option here as true. Some of the things will already be pre-populated for you. The things that are not pre-populated for you is include jump blocks and Webhook URL. So what is Webhook URL? We'll talk about this momentarily in a bit. So you have this setup, you have this setup, and then when you run, last thing is that you need to run it. This is the command that you need to use in order to run our exporter, which is npm start. So let's do that together. So now if I do npm start, you would see that, it has successfully exported the project for us, and there is an output folder that is created for you. This folder was not there before. It just got created, and when you open it, it has two folders, upload and webhook. So you can learn more about them by reading our README file as well. But the gist of it is that this is the folder that you need to upload to Dialogflow, and this is the webhook folder that we have created for you. This is we have created a JSON file, a blocks JSON file, a condition JSON files, and we've also generated some JavaScript code for you out of the box. So these two blocks, these two JSON files are basically going to be used in a webhook project. So what do I mean by webhook project? Basically, Dialogflow does not support any conditions, or if you were using set API blocks and so on and so forth, if you were using all of this powerful blocks from Botmock, unfortunately, Dialogflow does not have a functionality for it. But what you can do is that Dialogflow provides us a way to basically use some of the custom code, and they call that fulfillment. And when you go to fulfillment, you see here that there are two options. One is either you provide us a webhook URL. This is the URL of any sort of backend project that is running on the cloud, and then once you have that, you can basically run all the custom code side by side with Dialogflow as well. Alrighty. So once we have these two things, now we need to do one thing here, that the upload file needs to be a zip file, because that's what Dialogflow expects. And then what I have also done, since we have all these conditions and everything into our project, we have also created a sample node project for you, which is also open source, by the way. So you can simply, so this is the project that is also open source as well, and this is a sample project that we have created for you guys to just save you guys the hassle of creating a node project yourself. This is node based. You can create it in any language, but for us, we have created a node, and the code that we generate for the function itself is also JavaScript based. So we need to copy and paste all of this once we have cloned this project. And I have already done it here. So what we'll do is we'll copy paste the webhook folder here, and then we'll zip this one. So let's do that. Let me open this. Alrighty. So let's go here. Let's zip this. Let's compress this. Let's go there. Let's copy all of this and paste it here. So we have pasted it here, and now once we have done it, let's do, node index. Now we have a server running, and what we have done is we are using ngrok. There are so many other ways that you can basically tunnel your local into a deployable URL, but essentially, eventually what you'll do in the production, that you'll deploy this code somewhere, which and the URL that you're going to get from that deployment environment, you're going to copy and paste it to Dialogflow. Now it's a good time to show you guys about what Webhook URL was about. So when we exported this project, we have also given it a URL, that this is the URL that we are going to be using for the deployment. This can be any URL. What this has done for us, that once now I will upload this file into Dialogflow. So let me go there. Let me go here. Let me create a new agent. So go there, create a new agent. Let's name it design restaurant mod. It's going to take a little bit of time. Once this is saved and created, we are going to now go to the settings section, and then go to export and import, restore from zip, select a file, just to ensure that we are on the correct one. I'll go there. Yes, it's correct. I'll do this, and now we store. I'll save it. And we have successfully imported an agent into Dialogflow. So now you would see that, we have intents already created for you, a help one and greetings one. They have all the content inside them as well. One thing that you need to keep in mind that when you have conditions and you are using webhooks and stuff, you won't see any text responses or anything in like Dialogflow, and what you will see is the enable webhook call for this intent is, so a webhook is enabled for this because there was a condition here. That's why we don't have any responses here. The response is going to come through the webhook URL that we have already in place for you. And how is that possible? That is possible because in our exporter, when you add in a webhook URL and then place a URL there, we automatically place that URL and enable webhook for you. So now just quickly, let's test it out. If I say hi here, let's go to Facebook because that's what we're doing. So we have also automatically created a Facebook section for you. So all the messages and everything are going to come into Facebook section. And you would see yes, our bot is running. So now another thing that you want to do is you need to go to integrations. You need to go to this section here, text-based, and then enable Facebook. Now this will open a modal for you, and what this is going to tell you that you need to have an access token from Facebook here pasted. The callback URL and the verify token needs to be pasted into Facebook. So let's go to Facebook and create a new app. Let's go to business integration, continue. Myself, let's create an app. Let's verify that we are not a robot. And now it's creating. So let's go there, set it up. We are making a bot for Messenger, so we have set that up. Now we are now in this page. First thing that you need to do in order to get all these tokens and everything, you need to create a page on Facebook. So let's create a page. Let's name it as bot restaurant order, for example. You can obviously name it better. I was just doing it for demo purposes. Let's close this. Let's go there. A category is required, so let's do restaurant, and let's create a page. Alrighty, a page is created. Now you would go there. You can go to add and remove, and here, I'll continue like this. This is the one that we just created. Next, all good, done. Perfect. Now we have a page already integrated here. You would see there's an option here, generate a token, done. We have copied the token. We have to go back here. We have to paste a token here. Here, let's create a verified token. I will create a test Botmock restaurant token. I will start this. All good. So now let's copy this. Let's go back to our app where we were. Now you need to add the callback URL. So add the callback URL, the verified token that we just created in Dialogflow. Let's copy this. Let's go back. Let's paste it here, verify and save. Awesome. We have it here. One more thing before you can test the bot in Facebook that you need to do is you need to add the subscriptions for messaging postbacks and messages itself and save that. Alrighty. Now I think we are already set to go. We have nothing else left. We can now go to Facebook and start testing our bot here. If I go there, save, add a button. send message. Now if I go there, I go to test. And if I simply say hi, boom, you have a bot that is
Damn.
connected to Dialogflow and now is also part of Facebook as well. And you can see if I say I am Kevin, it is working as expected. And let me give you a small preview that how it will look like in Botmock as well. So if I say hi here, it's welcome to Cafe Bistro. I am Kevin. And it's exactly the way it's running in Botmock.
Nice. And so just to wrap my head around kind of all the different tools we just used, if I made a change in Botmock and we changed that greeting to say, hello, welcome to Cafe Bistro, instead of hi, welcome to Cafe Bistro. Can you actually show me like how we would then make that, or you don't have to show me, but walk me through like sort of the steps involved to make that change?
Absolutely. So if you make a change in Botmock in the content itself, then you need to go through this entire process again. And the reason that we have kept it like this is we don't want you to change something and then just deploy it automatically on Facebook, because you also want to go through some of the testing, some of the content review process, and so on and so forth. So once the process is reviewed and it's ready for handing it over to the developers, at that point, you can obviously, since everything is open source here that we have used, you can create all your custom continuous integrations and CI and CD, like all these deployment processes around it, which can automate all of this process for you, where you can just simply run a command which does all this that I've done manually. You can also automate all of that part as well. But by design, you have to, to be a manual process, so that Botmock, and that's what we believe in, that for teams who are using Botmock becomes the single source of truth.
Got it. So if I make a change in Botmock, I need to do everything again so that I update everything that's in Dialogflow. However, if I make a change in Dialogflow, it's directly linked to Facebook. So exactly. Anything I push in Dialogflow is directly going to surface in Facebook.
Exactly. So one thing to keep in mind here is that this is a test environment. So this bot is not live for public. This is for, you can add as many testers as you want, but in order to basically deploy it for all of your customers, you need to basically send this for a review. So if you go back here, what you need to do is there's an app review section here. So you need to request a review from Facebook, and they are going to review your app. They're going to make sure that you're complying with all of their rules and regulations. And once they approve it, then you will be able to deploy it. And this is a process that needs to happen over and over again. So you don't need to connect Dialogflow and Facebook over and over again, but you need to go through the approval process if there is any change. And the app itself is going to tell you that, okay, there's something that I have seen that there's a change here. So you need to go through the review process again.
Got it. Okay. So can you walk through maybe like the top 3 most popular ways Botmock customers actually deploy their conversation? And I don't think one is Facebook, but can you, I guess, sort of talk about like if one of our customers is using Dialogflow and they are deploying that bot from Botmock to Dialogflow to their own website, how would that process look to take it from Dialogflow to their website? Obviously, you wouldn't need to go through like a review process or anything.
Yeah, for sure. So in that case, we have we have multiple channels that we support here, but one of the channels is a generic bot. So generic bot is basically for your web and mobile chatbots. And in Dialogflow's world, that is this section here. So if I go to an intent, it's going to come into the default section as well, and there won't be like any other channel or integration that is enabled. It's going to come into default. So most of the process in Dialogflow's world is going to remain the same, that you still would need to have a fulfillment API hooked into it if you're using all the conditions and set API blocks and so on and so forth. But once you have all of this set, then you can basically use Dialogflow's API to deploy everything into your own system as well.
Awesome. That makes sense.
It has to be Facebook or anything, but Dialogflow does support different channels as well. So if, let's say, you go here to one of the intents, if I go here for a sec, you can open this, and these are all the channels that Dialogflow support. And most of them are also supported by Botmock as well, like Google Assistant, Slack, Skype, RCS, all of this is Facebook as well, obviously. They're all supported by Botmock. So you can, whenever you export, we automatically convert your data into those respective channels in Dialogflow as well.
Awesome.
This is as simple as that.
Cool. Thanks for walking me through this, Gohar.
No problem. Thank you, Braille, for giving me your time.